DevOps Shorts, DevOps Shorts, the show to listen to when your DevOps hurts. And even when you're going strong, it's short and sweet, so come along. Hello, folks, and welcome to another episode of DevOps Shorts, the show where we invite wonderful human beings to have a lightning-fast conversation about devs, ops, and other mythical creatures. The show where each episode only lasts 15 minutes, and we only ask 3 questions, so it's short and sweet. Why? Well, because if there's one thing we know, is that great delivery comes in small batches. And today I'm excited to have Tracy Miranda as my guest. Tracy is the executive director at the Continuous Delivery Foundation. Is that right?
That's right. Yes. Thanks
Wonderful.
for having me.
How are you, Tracy?
I'm good. I was also going to go for that title of wonderful human being. I'm going to add that to my bio.
Yeah, sure. You have to do that. Okay, without further ado, let's jump straight into our 3 important questions. And the first question is about love. So I have this naive assumption that everybody who comes to this show loves what they do. And you work in IT for a long time. You've been in a number of open source communities. So I suppose you love being in IT. So the question is why? Why do you love IT, Tracy? And go.
Yeah, so no, definitely. I think the thing that I specifically love is definitely open source. And I think it stems back from, like, I started off in more the hardware space, and that was everybody would keep things to themselves, and there wasn't this culture of sharing. But once I went to my first open source conference, I loved, people were friendly and they would share their ideas, and that led to a lot of innovation. And I think that's key to kind of addressing the big problems we're going to have in the world, doing that with those principles of open source and transparency and global collaboration. And we're starting to see that, like with the COVID healthcare, we have like Linux Foundation Public Health used open source to bring people together to tackle COVID detection and alert apps. So yeah, what's not to love about open source and all the principles behind it of just working together at the bigger scale?
Yeah, open source, of course, is exciting. The collaboration on global scale that's still amazes me up to this day. So, did you start working on open source from the beginning of your career in IT?
No, I was in, like I say, I started in hardware. I did sort of embedded systems, and then the first place I had a job, after maybe 12 months, the project I was working on was canceled, and they were like, okay, now you just have to go and work on our Java projects, and to help you figure it out, we'll send you to this conference, which was, the Open Source Eclipse conference. And I sort of ran with that, and software was moving quickly, and I enjoyed it. So I stuck with that and stuck with open source ever since.
Okay. Stuck with open source. Looks like you're enjoying it. Wonderful. Okay, that was short and sweet, and we have time left over for the blitz questions in the end. So without further ado, I'll stop the timer and we'll go to our next question. And the next question is about DevOps. This show is called DevOps Shorts. Well, the question is this. In the DevOps handbook, the authors, they talk in the beginning about their DevOps aha moment, that moment when they realized that the way things used to work in IT 10 years ago and before that, this way sucks. But there's a better way. And that way is collaboration between devs and ops and other teams. So what was that moment for you? If there was one, usually folks say I had multiple aha moments. Was there such a moment for you?
Yes. Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I think on the collaboration side, I've always, that's a key thing. And I think it's always been important in my career. But I think the story I want to share, and I don't know if I should share this, but I'm going to anyway. is the coming to grips with the harsh reality of what DevOps means in practice. And I'd say like 3 years ago, I got into the whole DevOps space when I agreed to go work at CloudBees. And the reason I did that was because I was going to have this opportunity to work for Kosuke Kawaguchi, who's the creator of Jenkins. So this was like, this is amazing. I'll get to go into the DevOps space and learn from these awesome folks and make a difference to the industry. And then almost in one of the first team meetings I had at CloudBees with the community team and with Kosuke Kawaguchi, one of the things they shared was that they wanted me to fix how, help fix how Jenkins was released. So now, for those of you who don't know, Jenkins is like this amazing project that everybody kind of has based their CI and their builds on and delivers software for so much of the world. And at that meeting, I discovered that Jenkins itself was released from a laptop in Kosuke's basement. And it was like,
how long ago was that?
So this was about maybe 3 or 4 years ago. And
Wow.
and I was blown away that the software which releases everything was kind of running in a basement somewhere in the world. And if anything happened to that laptop, there's going to be, it's going to affect new releases of Jenkins. So for me, it was like, this is crazy. We've got to work to fix this. This is something we've got to get done, and we'll take care of it in the first quarter. That we'll move on. But the reality was that it was actually, the reason it hadn't been done, was a combination of, like, technical was not the problem. It was a combination of getting the community to do it. How could you make it so anybody could release it? How could you make sure it was secure and it was signed and the certificates were signed in a way that you could only share them within a core group of folks? And the way it had been set up and how it was released was an optimization for open source, and Kosuke does a huge amount for Jenkins. So it actually took a lot longer than I thought it would to resolve that problem. And I think for me, that was a big aha moment. So, we did manage to resolve it. We worked with the open source community, we worked with the teams, and everybody sort of pulled together to make this happen. But I think ever since then, I have a real empathy for, fixing real world problems is just not always as straightforward as you think. And when you are approached with something, you think that's ridiculous. We can fix that and we can do best practices. Somehow this, when you dig deeper, it's often much more complicated, especially when human beings and communities and security is involved.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely understand what you're talking about. Collaboration is hard. Like we say, how hard it is to find, that focus to open on to work on your own. But that's one thing. But then after you've found that focus and you've set up your laptop, so to say, it's so hard to share this thing that you've toiled so much to set up. And we've hit the gong. Because that story was really profound. That's actually how a simple story can make you understand the deep, profound truths, as I see it. And without further ado, let's go to our third question, which is my favorite one, by the way. I call myself a software delivery futurist, whatever that might mean. And the third question is about the future. So this is your chance, you being a technologist, you as a person who worked with open source for so long, to look into the future and to tell us what you think the future will bring to open source, to our industry as a whole, to DevOps maybe, or to all of us as humans. I'm sure you have some ideas.
Oh yeah,
be bold, be bold.
Lots. Yeah, so I think from my perspective in the world, and the reason I went to lead the Continuous Delivery Foundation is because software is pretty fundamental to every single industry out there. And we see more and more it's becoming a differentiator. So the faster you can ship new features and the more safely you can do that, that's going to make all the difference to, not just companies, but maybe even governments, and kind of responding to crises or being agile. So I think it's super important that everybody focuses on this and invests and figures out how to get better at software delivery. Um, but it's pretty much a big nightmare at the moment because of a super fragmented landscape, terminology which no one can agree in or understand what each other are talking about. And then there's the kind of distributed computing and the cloud, and everyone's trying to shift things there, but they have to break it up into microservices. So, and then on top of that, well, human beings simply don't like change. So it just means that we're really far behind on adoption from where we should be. And like the big thing that has to happen is like all DevOps and continuous delivery has to go through that hype cycle. So we need to get to a point where people are adopting it and doing it for real. And so I think what needs to happen now is we need to have some more standardization, especially around some of the fundamental building blocks. And projects like the Tecton project in CDF is going to be key to that. And then once we kind of define these building blocks and we have these standardized ways of saying, okay, this is the metadata for a release, so these are the APIs, I think that's when you can start to kind of build on top of that and do some super amazing things, like not just automate things, but go ahead and throw some machine learning at it and have all these algorithms who can then figure out things for you and just kind of really take it to the next level. And it's pretty amazing because, there are people kind of doing some of that today. And we're in the super divided space where on the one hand, some people are super proud they've just got their CI builds. And then the other end, you've got these people kind of taking algorithms and having them do some amazing stuff with ML ops and just like unleashing all sorts of powerful things. So I think for me, the future is about just bridging that gap. And I'm interested in, make democratizing it all for everybody, not having this kind of elite class of folks who can deliver software well. So, and then going back to just things about open source, I think that's the way to do it. So I think open source will provide the building blocks, which allows everybody to do that. And then people can build these really clever solutions on top of that. And yeah, just having a community work together to drive that, I think is really fun and really innovative. And that's why, I'm a big proponent of CDF, and I want us to be the people who just really help every organization be a high performing technology organization, and every team, be really good at delivering software securely and safely. So how are we doing on time?
It's a
that good enough?
beautiful vision. You had me hypnotized there. Wonderful. Wonderful. Yeah. I agree. That's the way forward. And okay, wonderful. We still have 20 seconds left from this question, and we have 2 whole minutes for the blitz questions. So these are short, unexpected questions, and I'd like you to provide short answers. Gonna be fun. Okay. First question: do you believe in cryptocurrency?
I believe. Okay, I believe it's just such like a complete nightmare on the climate and energy side. So yeah, I wish they didn't exist, and I wish they would go away and be climate friendly.
Okay, wonderful. What's in your eyes the most exciting tech outside of information technology?
Wow, that's a great question. So nothing is jumping into my mind. To be honest, it's going to be around games. I don't know, because now you can tell I've got young kids, so anything that keeps them engaged and learning and having fun with others. But yeah, I think just some of the gaming platforms, the craze in the house at the moment is Among Us. And it's not, just the kids playing it, and people in CDF as well. We were talking about this at CDCon and how great it is at bringing people together. And I think like video games are going to teach us how to globally scale up remote work. So I don't know if that kind of falls
Okay.
outside CD, but that's what I think is
Yeah,
cool.
that's still, I think, information technology. But again, yeah, okay, if that's what excites you, it's a valid answer. Wonderful. Okay, and another one. No, actually, we don't have time for this. I think I'll just thank you. It was wonderful to have you, and thank you for this beautiful vision of open source and for the secret of Jenkins releases from Koski's laptop.
Sorry, okay. But thanks for having me. And yeah, thanks for the awesome questions. It's been fun.
Short and sweet. Thank you for listening and watch out for new episodes of DevOps Shorts.